So in this section, we're going to be talking about Java inheritance. And this is probably another one of those very powerful features of Java. So we're going to talk about what is inheritance, what are the superclasses, what are the superclass constructors, superclass methods, protected, different chains of inheritance, the polymorphism, abstract classes and methods, interfaces, and anonymous classes and functional interfaces and lambda expressions. So what is inheritance? So it kind of mirrors what you really see in real life. When you see, for example, different types of animals and how they are then, one animal is more of a specialization of another animal. Or you could think of it like different kinds of widgets on the screen. They kind of have a similar behavior, but then there are other kinds of UI widgets on the screen that are more specialized than others. So an example might be like an insect is a very general type of creature, but then there are grasshoppers and bumblebees, which are different, which are more specialized types of insects. They have some general shared characteristics, but then they have some of their own specialized characteristics of their own. So if you visually just look at the inheritance and class structures, the parent class would be the insect and would have a lot of attributes and methods that are shared across all insects. And then there would be bumblebee specific attributes and methods, and there would be grasshopper specific attributes and methods. There is a relationship with inheritance called is a. So a grasshopper is a insect, a bumblebee is an insect, a poodle is a dog, a German Shepherd is a dog, a car is a vehicle, a truck is a vehicle, and so forth. And all the characteristics of a specialized object, like a poodle, inherits all the general characteristics of the general dog, um, and then any additional characteristics are added to the specialized object that makes it special. So when we use the this type of inheritance, when we want to do this is a relationship, we use the keyword of extend. Extend is a special keyword in Java, which we will do to create a subclass from a parent class. There are some terms that are kind of interchanged a lot. So a superclass is like the general class with a parent class, and the subclass is the specialized class or the child class. Um, so the subclass is going to be based or extended from the superclass, and the superclasses are also called base classes, and subclasses are also called derived classes. So these are just sort of interchangeable terminology that are used to describe that kind of parent-child relationship. So the subclass will inherit the fields and methods from the superclass or the parent class without any of them being overwritten or sorry, without any of them being rewritten. And then new fields and methods can be added to the subclass. So here in Java, we use the special keyword extend to create a subclass of graded activity. So the graded activity of the parent class, and then the subclass would be final exam, would be the child class. So this is the graphical representation. The parent class is the graded activity, and then the child class below it is the subclass. And you can see the arrow that the arrow typically points from the subclass to the parent class. So you have to get used to the arrow orientation, that the arrow points from the child class back to the parent class. So all members in the superclass or the parent class that are marked private, they're not inherited by the subclass, but they all exist in memory when the object of the subclass is created, and they can only access by the subclass by either public or protected members of the subclass. And then members of the parent class or the superclass that are marked public, they're all inherited by the subclass and may also be directly accessed from the subclass. So when we create an instance of the subclass, all the non-private methods, which are public and protected, public and protected of the superclass are accessible from the subclass. Okay. So constructor are not inherited. And then when a subclass is instantiated, the parent class or the superclass default constructor is executed first if it isn't explicitly specified in the subclass constructor. So here the super keyword is a special keyword that you can reference from inside of the class or the object. So the subclass can get access to the superclass constructor by using that super keyword. If you're calling the parent class or the superclass constructor and the superclass has a parameterized constructor for the parent class, then the subclass must either provide a constructor or the subclass must call the superclass's constructor. So calls to the superclass constructor must be the first class statement in the subclass constructor. So when you override the superclass or the parent class methods, you can do that. And when you do that, this is called method overriding. But it must have the same method signature, meaning it has to have the same method name and it has to have the same parameter types in the same order. So here's an example of overriding the parent or superclass method. The set score is defined at graded activity, and it has set score and it has a double as a parameter. And then in the child class of curved activity, there is a set score as well, same method name, and it has the same parameter type in the parameter list. So you have to remember when you override, the method name must be the same, and it also must have the same order of parameters and the same data types in both parent and child class. And then when you can also invoke either the subclass method or if you just specify the object and then you invoke the method, it will invoke the subclass's method, not the superclass. And then you have to use the override annotation when you define the overriding method. So the subclass method can override the parent class method by using the super keyword. So if you wanted to call the parent class's set score instead of the current class of set score, you can call super and call set score, and you will call basically the parent's set score. There is a distinction between overloading a method and overriding a method. So overloading a method is when you take the same method name, but then it has another method with the same method name, but it has different parameter types in different order. And when you override the method, you're basically overriding it from the parent class, and you basically have the same signature. Both the names are the same, and the parameter types are the same, but you're just overriding the parent's version of the method. And both overriding and overloading can happen inside of one inheritance relationship. Okay, so when we have a method with final, it means that you cannot override this method. So if you define something at the parent level called, let's say, message, and you attempt to subclass, or I'm sorry, you create a subclass and then you try to override this method, it will give you a compile time error when you try to override this method. So protected members are something that you would consider in between private and public. And all those members can be accessed by the subclass, and it also can be accessed by the same methods in the same package as a class. So we talked about how all Java classes are defined in packages. So if you have classes in the same package, then they have this additional kind of access method. So using protected instead of private is typically used when you want to be able to access something at the child level from the parent. Um, and also, you also want to access a class or a method or data member in an unrestricted way, as long as it's in the same package. And the best kind of best practices is to make all fields private and then provide public methods for accessing those fields. That way, you know who might be modifying some of those fields that are private. So if you do not specify either public, private, or protected, then it's considered a package access by default. And package is yet another access level other than public, private, or protected. When a when a any method doesn't have an access specifier, then any method in that same package may access those members. So here is a breakdown of the different access specifiers. And so when things are public, generally everything can be accessed from both inside and outside the same package. But when things are private, generally they cannot be accessed from inside or outside of the same package. That private things are only can be accessed by the code at that one individual class level. So here is another sort of example of some inheritance. You can have multiple levels of inheritance that you can basically inherit from a subclass and then make it then a grandchild class. And then you can have different levels of kind of inheritance. So then you can have sibling level kind of inheritance, of relationships.